Good afternoon. This is a topic on dividing polynomials for my algebra class. This is a problem that we saw in a quiz, dividing polynomial. You have this polynomial divided by this polynomial. And notice this polynomial is what we considered a binomial. And it's called a binomial because bi means two, like a bicycle has two wheels. So two terms. So you're dividing by a binomial. So how do you divide a polynomial? Specifically, how to divide by a binomial. So the key thing is long division. So some of you guys might not remember how to do long division, so I'm going to do a problem with long division on just simply numbers without any variables or exponents. If you already know how to do this, just forward this video along to forward so that you could get back to the problem. But if you need a review of how do you do long division, this is what you do. So whenever you have a number divided by number, we're going to do long division, and how that's written is I have 89,527, what I call under the house, and outside the house is the second number, which is 2. So the first number goes inside the house and the second number goes outside the house. And this is called long division. So what we're going to do is it's basically repeated steps over and over again. So the first thing we do is we look at just the first numbers inside and outside the house. And the first thing we do is we do division. So when you do division, you do 8 divided by 2. Well, what's 8 divided by 2? 4. The next step you do is multiplication. You take the 4 and you multiply with outside, so 4 times 2 is 8. The next step that you do after that is subtraction. So you subtract 8 minus 8 and you end up getting 0. The last step of this round is what I call drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot. So you drop the 9 and you put the 9 right there. And that's basically the main idea of long division. And this is what I call the remote control of long division. And you're just going to repeat this until you finish. So repeat, repeat, repeat. So now I'm going to repeat this. I'm going to do 9 divided by 2. Well, 9 divided by 2, the largest whole number that'll go into it is the number 4. Then I do 4 times 2, because that's the second step. 4 times 2 is 8. Then I subtract, and then I get 1. And then I drop it. Drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot, so I get 5. So now I'm going to repeat again. 15 divided by 2, the largest number that'll go into it is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. I subtract, I get 1. Then I drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot, I get 12. Repeat, divide. So 12 divided by 2 will give me 6. Multiply, 6 times 2 gives me 12. Subtract, I get a 0. And then the last number to drop it like it's hot is the number 7 here. So I get 7. 7 divided by 2, the largest whole number is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. I subtract, I get 1, and there's nothing left to drop. So here, my answer is going to be that 44,763 is called the quotient, and the 1 is what's left over, or in other words, the remainder. So you have the quotient and the remainder. Now let's go back to our original problem that we were looking at in algebra. So we are going to apply the same steps: division, multiplication, subtraction, and drop it like it's hot, then repeat. So first of all, I'm going to draw that house thingamajigger, that division sign. So what goes inside here is the first polynomial, 16x cubed plus 20x squared plus 8x plus 5. The things that goes outside of the division sign is the second polynomial, which is 4x plus 4. All right, so it looks a lot more complicated than the other problem that we did. However, the nice thing with math is how the steps are still the same. So here, let's take a look at this. We are going to first do division. So I'm going to just focus on the first term here and the first term here. So the first term inside the polynomial and the first term in this polynomial. So just focus on those two. So you're going to do long division, and just like this problem here where you did 8 divided by 2, we're going to do 16x cubed divided by 4x. So I'm actually going to write it here. So division is 16x cubed divided by 4x. So we're going to need the quotient rule of exponents to do this. 16 divided by 4 is 4. X cubed divided by x, invisible 1 right there. You subtract the exponent since it's a quotient rule, so you get x squared. So here, I'm going to get 4x squared. What do I do after that? Well, go back to what we did before. After you divide, then you multiply. So we're going to multiply, and we're going to multiply 4x squared times everything outside. So make sure you multiply by everything out here. So 4x squared times 4x will give me 16x cubed. 4x squared times 4 will give me 16x squared. No coincidence that these are exactly the same, because the next step is going to be subtraction. So when I subtract, I'm going to subtract this polynomial minus this polynomial. So when I subtract, 16x cubed minus 16x cubed just becomes 0. Again, no coincidence. 20x squared minus 16x squared will give me 4x squared. So we did division, multiplication, subtraction. Last but not least, we do the drop it like it's hot. So again, it's the same remote control that we've been using even with this problem, right? So drop it like it's hot. I end up getting plus 8x. All right, so now I'm going to repeat. So now I'm going to divide again. And again, I'm just going to focus on the first term here. So 4x squared divided by 4x. When I do that, 4x squared divided by 4x, I end up getting, the 4's becomes a 1. X squared divided by x to the first, I subtract the exponent because of the quotient rule, which just becomes an x to the first. So I can just write plus x. And then I multiply. X times everything outside here gives me 4x squared plus 4x. And then I subtract. So when I subtract, I put this in parentheses to emphasize I'm subtracting this minus all of this. So when I subtract 4x squared minus 4x squared is 0, no coincidence. 8x minus 4x will give me 4x. Last but not least, I drop it like it's hot, drop it like it's hot, I get plus 5. Again, I'm going to repeat my steps. So I look at just the first term, and I do 4x divided by 4x. So I get 4x divided by 4x. The 4 and the 4 cancels out to become a 1. The x and the x cancels out to become a 1 as well. So we just get 1 as the answer when you divide. So 4x divided by 4x is 1. And then I'm going to multiply 1 times everything out here, which will give me 4x plus 4. Now I'm going to subtract. So when I subtract, put this in parentheses. 4x minus 4x becomes a 0. 5 minus 4 becomes a 1. Nothing else to drop. So therefore, this would be my answer as a quotient. So this is the quotient, and this 1 here is my remainder. Hope that makes sense. Remember, the remote control for long division is divide, multiply, subtract, drop it like it's hot. Let me know if you have any questions.